The organisers have asked me to specifically talk about the BBC today. I've been doing this job for 20 years, and it would be safe to say that it's the worst group of employers that I've ever dealt with. Not just in respect to the way they treat their staff, which is atrocious, but also the fact that BBC Scotland is not safe in their hands. Journalism from the BBC is not safe in their hands. In the 18 months leading up to one of the biggest decisions this country's ever going to take, where the media have a major role, or should have a major role to play, in highlighting the for and against votes or arguments for independence, BBC Scotland, head of news and current affairs, decide that they're going to make 10% cuts in the number of journalists across newsrooms in Scotland. An absolute disgrace. We should be looking for more journalists. We should be setting an agenda to open the debate and widen it, to bring in more and wider groups of people, more experts who can illuminate this debate and take it out into the public and involve as many experts as possible. Instead, BBC Scotland management targeted specialists. It wasn't just about highly paid people, it was about education specialists, it was about politics experts, one of the best business news presenters in the country, all targeted for redundancy. And people may say it's a conspiracy theory, but there is a major dumbing down across the river in BBC Scotland. People who have massive expertise in their field, and they've been shown the door, they've been thrown on the scrap heap. Now, we've taken a series of strikes to try and prevent compulsory redundancies. We firmly believe, the union firmly believe, that the BBC management, BBC Scotland management, have agreed that Scotland should be the guinea pig to force through compulsory redundancies in the BBC. The union have fought hard for the last 3 or 4 years, where we've faced 16% cuts a year, and we've fought against compulsory redundancies. And we believe that Ken McQuarrie, controller of BBC Scotland, has agreed that Scotland will be the guinea pig for force through compulsory redundancies. Unfortunately for them, they're not just vindictive, they're incompetent. And the people that they've targeted, one has a disability discrimination claim against them, one has a race discrimination case against them, and the third person is one of our shop stewards, who's the oldest person in the newsroom, who has a trade union and an age discrimination case against them. And we will be pursuing those legal cases on behalf of those individuals. We will also be given a notice this week of further industrial action unless they stop further job cuts. The BBC Trust have upheld a serious complaint against BBC management. The news management team have failed miserably. They've been accused of distorting the news. We don't think that they are fit to run the BBC in Scotland, and that the chapels, the unions in Scotland, have put a unanimous vote of no confidence in the BBC Scotland management. And we're looking for you to back that. We want you to say the public have no trust in these people. The BBC Trust have shown that they are now in a position where they are now looking with a big telescope at BBC Scotland management. We would encourage you to put as many complaints in as possible. If you have genuine complaints, we believe there are lots of good journalists about, but if there are distortions, we want the BBC Trust to know it. If there are mistakes or there are exclusions, we want the BBC Trust management to know it. These people have to be held account. The role of the press is to hold other people in power to account. But that doesn't mean that the owners of the press or the bosses in the press shouldn't be held accountable themselves. And it's a public right to know and to be well informed, well researched, well reported, well balanced journalism. And unfortunately, that is failing at the moment because of the failures of BBC Scotland management. And we will be continuing to fight, and we're more than delighted to support your campaign for a balanced, reported independence referendum with well-resourced journalism across Scotland. Wish you all the best in the campaign. Thank you.
Thanks very much. As we march through our wonderful Scottish weather from Strathclyde University to here in the pouring rain, and the chant on the loudhailer was, what do we want? Balanced broadcasting. And I couldn't help reflect on that wonderful phrase from the great James Connolly, who once said, "Our demands, most moderate, are the earth itself. And all we're wanting is balanced broadcasting. You might think that it's a meek demand. You might think that it's a minimalist demand. You might think it's the demand that everyone could agree with. I would argue everyone should agree with it. It's a democratic demand. It's a human right demand. But you know what? It's a demand that is actually bigger than it appears. Because if we were to get balanced broadcasting, we might just end up next September with a majority voting for a seismic change in politics in Western Europe. That's the reality. That's the reality of a referendum on the 18th of September. And that's why the demand for balanced broadcasting is not meek or mild. It's actually very radical. Because if we're successful on the 18th of September, we're going to be voting for a country that actually rejects the politics of nuclear weapons and sends nuclear weapons away from the Clyde. If we're successful on the 18th of September, we're going to vote for a country that promotes the idea of social equality and social justice, which goes against the grain of everything that Britain stands for. That's the reality. We have the opportunity of voting for a small, independent country that decides to put social justice, social equality at the top of its political agenda. That is dangerous. Our job, brothers and sisters, regardless of the weather, regardless of the numbers who yet understand what it is we're doing here, our job is to illuminate the debate, is to open the eyes of people in Scotland that we've got nothing to fear from an independent Scotland and everything to gain from an independent Scotland. That's why we need to fight for it. Thanks very much.
For far too long, the wishes of ordinary people have just been ignored. The same folk dominate all the debates. We get the same journalists, the same pundits, the same commentators. They're wheeled out on our radios and our televisions day after day. The women are underrepresented. Minority groups, we hardly ever see them. Where are the Green Party when we have all these debates on telly and on the radio? Where is the SSP? The poor, they're rarely seen. Well, you get a small pool of wee favoured individuals that stand up and tell us what is important.
Okay.
We have poor quality debates, almost no mature analysis. Headlines are little more than party press releases. They're served up day and daily by producers and presenters. And what debates that we do have are regularly dominated by one side.
Here, here.
BBC Scotland, in particular, is guilty of allowing the pro-union contributors to outnumber their independent supporting counterparts.
Here, here.
Balance is just an afterthought, this London-controlled arena. And it is a London-controlled arena. Because Scots pay £350 million every year in licence fees.
Why?
And yet 2/3 of that cash stays in London, and only 125 million of it finds its way back up to Scotland. And the inept management at BBC Scotland just meekly accept that. And that situation is resulting in the job losses that Paul was talking about at this, the most important time in our history. And they're paying off journalists.
Shame.
Is English Premiership football more important than Scotland's future? Hanson's salary really worth the loss of programmes like Derek Bateman's Newsweek?
No.
No. In September 2004, when Scots are faced with a yes or no to independence, they must be capable of applying reason and logic before they cast that vote. The Edinburgh Agreement states that the referendum should deliver a fair test, a decisive expression of the views of the people in Scotland. And it has to give a result that everyone will respect. Well, that's going to require facts and information, and it's going to have to be presented in an honest, balanced and mature manner. It's going to require our broadcaster to be willing to put aside its own agenda and treat the electorate with a bit of respect.
Here.
It's also going to require investment. And STV are showing really encouraging signs of late with their willingness to report and debate all of the issues, and that's very welcome. The BBC now have to step up to that challenge.
Yes.
Now they claim that balance is not required until the campaign officially starts. I find that quite unbelievable. What we expect is a balanced, all-inclusive referendum debate.
Here we
Thank
are.
you.
Hey!